Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox. With me is my co-host, Clem, and we are back for another Last of Us edition of My Mom's Basement. It's The Last of Us episode 6, I believe, and we don't really have much else to talk about other than The Last of Us this week. I feel like the first 5 weeks of the show, we pretty much had like a movie or a big news item to pair with it. This week, it's going to be basically just The Last of Us. How are we doing, Clem?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, this is it. But then next week, I believe Mando starts. So we'll be having like Mando.
2 weeks, I think. March 1st.
Isn't that next week?
Next week, we'll have a week in between because it's February 23rd as we record this. Oh, wait. No, you're right. It's next week because there's only 28 days in February. I forgot about that. Holy shit. Next week, we're going to have Mando. Clem, we're within a week of Mando season 3.
I'm doing the cat, the cat video.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. You just saw my mind break on the podcast. I was like, no, dude, it's February 23rd. There's at least 7 days till. Oh, my God.
Bob, which month has 28 days in it?
February.
All of them. Oh, God, that's an old joke. That's an old one.
That's a good dad joke. Did you get that from the book in The Last of Us?
Yeah, I got that from the he actually referenced the author. Joel references the author. He says to Ellie, you're no whatever the guy is. And I was like, I like how we're bringing it back there. So yeah, The Last of Us, we have this going on now, but then Mando's going to be back on our lives weekly. Pedro Pascal's having himself a fucking day because he's just leading two fucking very important children across the universe, far away from each other, and it's going to be a hell of a time for the basement. And then at some point, I guess Last of Us, I'm trying to think, will the Last of Us oh no, Guardians is May, so we'll be good by Guardians. Yeah. But God knows what other nerd shit will be popping up then. So we did talk about this. I don't know if we'll actually do it. But I had texted you. I said, hey, man, The Last of Us has really taken off to this level I don't think either of us saw. You, credit, were much more on it than I was. And I was like, do we want to try to record these sooner? So then like on a Monday or Tuesday, we can release them. And then maybe we'll do YouTube, Last of Us. We'll do the Mando recap at some point. And then maybe we'll pair Mando and The Last of Us recap on the audio. And then we'll also have, obviously, Mando on the YouTube as well. And this way they could both kind of have their own little YouTubes there, since it's two massive franchises, as it turns out. I didn't see that coming with The Last of Us this quickly. It is clearly the number one show, like I'd say, currently airing on TV in terms of just in our little universe, right?
People talking about it exactly. Every time I go into the office, I feel like a new person comes up to me and says, oh, like, what do you think about The Last of Us? Like, are you watching and everything? So, yeah, I think we might follow that. We might do Last of Us recaps on YouTube. You'll get like the 30-minute full thing that we do on the podcast. Earlier, though, and then after Mando, we'll have that in a separate video. But like you said, on the podcast, it'll all be the same feed. So if you're just listening on the podcast, you want all the content, you're going to get all the content. But if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you might get it a little bit sooner. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you like this video. We're telling people early. What are we, 3 minutes into this? We're telling people right up at the front. We're getting better.
There's many reasons why the Mom's Basement doesn't have millions and millions of views and subscribers. I'm just going to say the number one reason is that we always say it at the end of the podcast, though. And
got to be the number one. Absolutely. Something that we should mention before we get into The Last of Us is that the Disney trip is booked. We have our tickets. We have the VIP thing worked out. We have our plane tickets. The whole schedule's worked out. We got reservations. We're going to Disney with the boss, Dave Portnoy, with Ken Jack and Jeff D'Lo, the Lights, Camera, Barstool boys. We can't wear costumes. We figured that out. We were planning out costumes. You friggin' ordered one. You got a Baby Yoda costume yourself. I was going to go Luke in X-Wing gear, if you were curious. Dave was going to go full Mando, which that would have been hysterical to see. I forget what Jeff was going to do. Jeff thought about just doing George Lucas, he said. He was like, I might just dress up as George Lucas. And then Ken Jack was going to do Han Solo?
I think it was either, he Han Solo.
He was going to do Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars armor, I think.
Yep.
which is
That was
just
it.
like a very Ken Jack pick where I was like, this guy is going deep cuts, but now we're getting shirts made. We're getting the cheesy shirts made. So we're getting the next best thing there. And I can't wait. We got our magic bands. I got the Baby Yoda magic band. It has the little blue macaroons on it. I'm just so excited for this trip. I don't know if I've ever been more excited for a Barstool related trip.
It's going to be easy in, easy out, very quick. But thanks, shout out Dave Portnoy for missing like the acres upon acres of Star Wars land that allows us to go. I still can't believe it's happening, but I mean, like you said, everything's booked: hotel, flights, tickets, yada yada yada. So it's going to be a blast. Me and Dave, me being a giant Baby Yoda, and then Dave being the Mandalorian, who's not as tall as the Baby Yoda, would have been a funny visual. But unfortunately, I said this from the jump. By the way, I was like, guys, you can't dress up in Disney. I'm like, oh no, I think as long as it's not this or that. And I'm like, guys, if you watch a Disney video and there's not 1,000 people dressed up in every single turn, you can't dress up, because people, like, you think Disney adults, the craziest of the crazies, and I say that from like a nice part of my heart, they would be dressing up as fucking Goofy, or you're talking deep cuts. We'd have fucking like Steamboat Willie, people dressing up like that motherfucker, whistling along. So I don't think that I knew that was going to be the case. I'm sure the video, we also saw our VIP tour guide, and I'm telling you right now, Dave and that kid are going to make content magic. I just promise.
There's some pair. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is going to be some trip for all of us. I can't wait. And I think we're going to try to do a Universal thing in there too. We're going to try to make some content in Universal, see Springfield maybe. So we'll see about that as well.
World's biggest McDonald's in Orlando.
Yes, the world's biggest McDonald's. We're going to hit that up, see what that's all about. Maybe they got the snack wrap there. We could go investigate.
Are you on my side with this?
I am. Eddie texted me as well, because I saw Eddie's reaction. If you're not familiar, the Dog Walk did a draft this week where they said laws we would make. And Eddie, for his first pick, drafted bringing the snack wrap back to McDonald's. And he was castrated for this. People said, Eddie, this is the worst pick in Dog Walk history. His other council members basically were the ones that said this. So he stormed out of the room. He said, morons, morons. You know, he throws the thing. He runs out. And I texted him. I'm an Ed fan. I'm an Ed head. I said, Ed, I've never seen that tone out of you. What's going on? Are you okay? And he said, what? He just texted me back. He said, what is the #1 requested fast food item to be brought back? And I said, snack wraps. And he said, thank you. And he kind of told me the whole thing. I agree with Ed. The snack wraps are one of the greatest things ever. I used to do a little jujitsu class, go to McDonald's, 2 snack wraps. I felt like I was Rocky eating eggs when I was doing that.
It's beautiful. Wraps in general with fast food makes you feel not as bad about yourself. And I always call the snack wrap the fat man's compromise, where it's like, I'll have a couple snack wraps, or if I just want like a little something and maybe a little fries or whatever, if you want to do the grilled chicken, if you were feeling a little crazy, then you mix up the dressings, honey mustard ranch. I love the snack wrap and I said this in the moment. I was like, I love the snack wrap. It's not one of those things that the heart grows fonder when it's gone. I've loved the snack wrap from day one. And people like Chief, I know Chief was very much like, well, McDonald's, though, they don't want to make money. So that's why it's like, I honestly think it's a production issue. I think it just cost them too much. And then to then sell it didn't really make sense. So I got FaceTime by Chief too. And they tweeted out the video, and they're like, and it was like, Clem, has people been asking for the snack wrap? I said, the snack wrap, I believe, is the #1 most requested snack wrap by fast food item by far. And every time someone asks for it, you just see the tweets go viral. I know Jerry, I think Marty has had a couple of takes on that. And the thing about it is, the root of this problem is that the chicken selects are so goddamn good. You could almost say, bring back the chicken selects, and then we could bring back the snack wrap, because we just have to figure out a cheap wrap supplier, and we can make it all done. But the chicken selects, I could get on a fucking soapbox. We won't even get to the Last of Us. I'll talk about the chicken selects for an hour straight. They were perfection. They were my go-to item when I would go to McDonald's, and I am absolutely heartbroken. My heart is like, thank God, or else he'd literally be broken in my chest right now if I still had chicken selects to eat. Just an absolute home run hit by McDonald's. And I just tell myself it was just too expensive. It was just not meant to be. Were you a chicken select guy as well?
Oh my God, the biggest chicken select guy. Chicken selects over McNuggets, and I love McNuggets. I do. But chicken selects in the little barbecue sauce from McDonald's, there's nothing better than that. And I don't mean to make you jealous, but I did get them when I went to London. They had them on the menu.
Oh, you dog, you dog. God damn. I guess we have to figure out a way to get Dave to fly us to London next. That's the next stop. Or this giant McDonald's, maybe they have like, it's like all the OG items that never went away. So yeah, two Ed heads who were firmly on Eddie's side. And I was trying to think of what the other item that people want. There's a bunch. I'm still mad that potato wedges got taken away from KFC. And I said that at the moment. I was like, what the fuck? We're taking away the potato wedges? That was the one thing that differentiated KFC.
It's a staple.
Yeah, it was a staple. And if you could get fries from all the different places. You getting the wedges, sometimes that was the thing that would make you go to KFC. So bummed about that.
Let me say this, though. Their fries are good.
Yeah.
They're not the potato wedges, but they're pretty good.
They're pretty good. And moving to the wraps, Wendy's had at least had the like spicy chicken wrap. Was another staple of mine. COVID took that motherfucker away. It must be the wraps that make it so expensive because we're 0 for 2 on these things. It's devastating. So yeah, we stand firmly behind you, Eddie, right now. The Basement Boys stand with Ed.
Since our last podcast, all the Ant-Man reviews came out, and all of our fans and listeners saw Ant-Man. All the Marvel fans saw it, I should say.
No spoilers. We won't be spoiling anything.
No spoilers. Yeah, we won't spoil it in this episode. But there was a lot of fallout. Ant-Man is now the lowest reviewed MCU movie, along with the Eternals. I think they're both tied at 47%. And a lot of people are on the other side of the fence. A lot of people say, I loved it. Like we got a lot of tweets from people that were like, I think you guys were a little off base on this one. I thought Ant-Man was amazing. Your expectations were probably what ruined it for you. I agree with that. I think Ant-Man is nowhere near the worst movie Marvel's ever made. I put it way above like the original Thor 2. Like there's plenty of movies that are less enjoyable than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think they ruined our expectations with the Civil War quote, with the quotes about the epic sci-fi war film as important to the MCU as an Avengers. When you say stuff like that, I expect this to be an Avengers level movie. And I think we said that in our review. It just didn't feel like that next big, oh my God, this is Civil War. This is Avengers. This is, it just felt like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was fine, but we wanted it to be a home run.
Yeah, I also think that they made a better movie in the trailer than they did for the movie, right? And I've heard a lot of people say that. And I think we kind of fell in between where 48% or whatever it is for the critics, I think that's too low. And I think 84 with the audience is, for me, it was too high. I was somewhere in the middle, probably like 68 or so, where it's like, you give us an Ant-Man movie, just like the first two, I would have been fine with it. You give us an epic, like an Avengers or a Civil War heavy, movie with a bunch of big parts, I'm fine with that too. They kind of gave us a half measure of both, where it had a couple Ant-Man ha-has. It had some moments that you felt were going to be bigger down the road, but you never quite got the middle. You never quite blended them. And again, there was like a chunk of the movie, I won't give it away, a chunk of the movie that I'm like, I could have done well without a lot of it. You kind of stretched out another part of the movie a little more, which I feel like we said with Love and Thunder. It was like, give us more gore, and less kind of the nonsense. And I think it would have been good, but whatever. It is what it is. And I'm happy it isn't just like a pure divisive movie where people like it's the greatest ever. I wasn't ready for another Last Jedi. I wasn't ready for the MCU's Last Jedi to come out. Definitely better than Thor 2, better than a bunch of other movies. When we recorded it, we were a little bummed, but I think I compared it to Burger King, the new French fries, and you compared it to the waffle sandwich, which is both something we would eat. We wouldn't just throw it in the garbage, but it's just something that we wanted a little more from in terms of both of them.
And I'll go see it again. I will. My girlfriend hasn't seen it yet, so I want to bring her to see it, and I'll kind of be able to go in with a different mindset of like, don't expect this, and this. I know what to expect going in. Just enjoy it as what it is. So I'm excited to see it again and kind of go in with that new perspective.
Yeah, I think that's one way to go about it, is watching it again, pretty fresh. And then there is a chance down the road. I heard a lot of comparisons. It could be like Age of Ultron, where when you watch it after everything pans out, you're like, oh, this guy. Because I watched Age of Ultron, I think it was around WandaVision when we watched WandaVision. And I was like, oh, wow, this was a lot better than I remember. So I'll be interested to see how it all pans out.
That movie has aged well. Now let's get into The Last of Us. Before we do, we got to shout out one of our sponsors, one of our favorite sponsors, HelloFresh. Remember those New Year's goals you promised yourself you'd stick to? HelloFresh is here to help you eat better by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door, taking the hassle out of dinner time. You got to stick to those New Year's resolutions. I'll admit, I made the resolution of being a better bass player. I was awesome in January with sticking to practicing and all that stuff. February, I started slacking a little bit. I got to get back on it, and HelloFresh can help me with that. Save time in the kitchen, can make way more time for everything else in your life, right? So no matter what your lifestyle or your meal preferences, HelloFresh has recipes to make sure you please everyone at the table, fit and wholesome to veggie, family friendly. You'll always find something even the pickiest eaters will enjoy. And you could get this sent to wherever you're going. So say you're going to Disney, like our trip, you can get a HelloFresh box sent to your hotel or whatever. And if there's a big group like us, there's meals for everyone. You can get a meal for Clem, a meal for me, a meal for Dave, a meal for Ken, Jack, Jeff. We all got different food preferences and tastes and all stuff like that. But HelloFresh has got it all.
There's a video. We go to our hotel room and make a HelloFresh meal together. Can you imagine?
Oh, that would be so good. Us trying to make a meal with Dave. HelloFresh. If you got a few extra G's in the bank account, send it to Dave Portnoy and convince him to do a meal with us, the Basement Boys and the Lights Camera Barstool Boys. I picture just Jeff in a chef hat, like a full, Jeff D. Lowe, like Swedish chef outfit.
Oh, I mean, Jeff D. Lowe would be in control of the kitchen. He'd be the Gordon Ramsay of all of us. He put Dave in his place, I bet, too. Where he's like, come, I've seen Jeff at the the live shows. He gets everyone in order. He's like great at that kind of stuff. So having that would be absolutely, I mean, HelloFresh, we have to do this now. We have to get
HelloFresh. Come on, send us some stuff for Disney, because that would be an all-time funny video. They've got the fast and fresh recipes, their latest line of meals featuring robust flavors and filling portions, ready in less than 15 minutes. So, I mean, talk about a great video concept. If we're done in 15 minutes, quick watch for everybody, that's great. Enjoy taste and quality done quick with recipes like the falafel power bowls, the seared steak and potatoes, the Southwest pork and bean burritos. We love this stuff, and we got a new promo code for you. So listen carefully. Go to HelloFresh.com/Fox65 and use code Fox65 for 65% off free shipping. That's code FOX65 at HelloFresh.com/FOX65. I wonder if too many people were going ROBBY with our promo code. They were like, fuck it, just do Fox. Just remember, it's 1X, though. It's not like Jamie Foxx. 1X.
Can't beat the Fox. That's easy enough. And my favorite part about HelloFresh is you can hit up like a lot of different like ethnic cuisines, like the saucy pork burrito bowls. I was looking at that. Some enchiladas. Like you can get some Asian dishes. Obviously, you have your American. You kind of just hit everything. But then, like I always say, you don't have to get the ingredients where it's like, if I need this for this Mexican dish or whatever, this spice that I don't usually use, and then I have a bunch of it just laying around, they give you just the right amount portions for everything. So I gotta see Portnoy on this thing. I just gotta see it.
There you go. HelloFresh. Now let's get into The Last of Us. I know at the beginning of this episode, we were like, all we're talking about is The Last of Us today. And I'm sure some people out there are like, it's fucking 20 minutes into the podcast. You haven't gotten to Joel and Ellie. We're getting to it now. And I'm trying to put the timestamps in the little description and everything. So hopefully that's made it an easier watching or listening experience for people. You could skip around if you want to. The Last of Us starts off this week with a fucking flashback to the ending of last week. Why did they make us relive that? Immediately, it was like, oh, man, we got to watch this again. It wasn't even like a last week on. They did that. They did the last week on The Last of Us. They showed us all that. And then they were like, just a reminder, Henry killed his brother. We were like, oh, fuck.
What if they just do that every week where they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, remember that those two brothers that I had that great story and they helped each other and they were so great. And then they both died from, the older brother's bullet. Yeah, that just happened. This is what you're welcome back to The Last of Us, motherfuckers. And you guys are going to keep tuning in because it is that damn good. I was mad at you all over again, Bob. I was mad at you all over again.
It's like they're sending us through like the PTSD flashbacks through the show. They're just going to say, reminder, this traumatic event happened. Reminder, oh, remember the car that you liked? Oh, that crashed. Oh, by the way, Tess, remember her? She got bit. Like, they're just every week going to hammer home these. I mean, they mentioned Tess this week again. You see Joel was just like, yeah, she's fine, which I think he did in the game to Bill. I think we learned that from our guy Heavy Spoilers, where Bill, when he's like alive in the game and they meet up, he's like, "Oh, how's Tess?" And he just pretends like everything's all good because he don't want to talk about it. He's
Yep.
closed off.
Our boy Joel is burying a lot deep inside. He's bottling it all up. Not exactly the healthiest thing, as we're going to see later on. It's kind of fucked up. But at this point, it's like, if you guys are going to keep torturing us, like, just go Uncle Ben with it. Just let me see these fuckers die every single week. Just replay the Bill and Frank with the window open. Show Tess. We even got Sarah. Like, just show them all. Just break my goddamn heart. I had my buddy Jamie. I hit him up and I was like, dude, you got to watch Last of Us. And he just texted me like 3 days later, on episode 5 right now. And he's like, it's the kids that really get me. It's Clem. Like, just seeing all these. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like, I'm thinking of, what's his name? Not Henry, the younger brother. Sam. I'm like, oh yeah, Sam. That was sad. And like, oh wait, no, Sarah. And then I'm just going through. And then obviously the kid that they burn in the beginning. I'm like, man, yeah, this show is really fucked up. I should probably stop recommending it to people.
It's so fucked up. You said go full Uncle Ben. I want to see like a Joel nightmare where he's like walking out of the movie theater with his parents, and then he looks up and it's Bill and Frank, and one of them's wearing pearls, and they have a full Bruce Wayne moment.
Yes.
So Winters must be just 100 times worse now, huh? That is something I noted right away. They meet this old couple who's kind of adorable, if I could use that word.
Yes.
And wait, the way that they're just...
Are we not using adorable? Is that a cancellation word? Or
no, it's not a cancellation. I'm just like, I don't know if it's like a mean thing to call old people. No, old people you could call adorable, right?
Yeah, I think so. Old people will probably call you worse, so you can call them kind of whatever you want.
Someone calls me adorable, I'm not offended, but I'm kind of like, adorable. Like, what?
It's like, if you call someone adorable, they either have to be really old or really young. There's really no in between, right?
So, babies or so many wrinkles you can't see their eyes.
When I call AJ adorable, it's like, I'm a big boy, I'm not adorable. And it's like, all right, I'm sorry. So yeah, there is a thing. These old people were fucking awesome too. They had great chemistry. And I was reading, I think they were in Northern Exposure together or something like that.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
That would make sense, because they were great. And like you said, that snow, you just see the snow and I'm just like, oh fuck. And I'm thinking of Oregon Trail at this point. You're going cross country, and you never, like, when they tell you it's rough weather or you lose 5 days for a snowstorm, you're like, oh, that sucks. You hit the, return button and you keep going. In real life, that must have been a motherfucker, where you're just like, we're in the Rockies now in the dead of winter. They really should have made the Oregon Trail a lot harder. Because think about, like, I wake up in the morning and like the heat hasn't kicked all the way on in like the living room and it's 62. I'm like, oh God almighty. These guys are just outside in a fucking covered wagon and they're going through it. So man, shout out to Joel and Ellie. This is some tough times here. Tough sled.
I got the Raynaud's hands. Imagine me in the apocalypse. The winter would kill me before the clickers.
If they were like, this kid here has like the antidote in his blood, but we have to take him cross country in the cold, they just put a bullet in here and be like, nope, we have to find another person. This guy ain't gonna make it. His little fingies are gonna freeze off.
They were like, he fucking complains about his fingers on his toes every 2 seconds. This guy's a pussy.
He plays the bass. How the fuck does he have bad fingers?
Which, funny enough, we did a secret pup punk shoot yesterday that was in the cold outdoor, and I'm wearing a Band-Aid on my wrist because I couldn't feel my fingers. So I was just trying to strum to make it look like I was hitting the bass in the video, and I fucking cut my wrist on the bass doing that. So I can't even film a pup punk video in the cold, and it's not even snowing. It's not, when I say cold, it was like 40 degrees. I could not survive a Last of Us winter. And another thing that I couldn't do, I hated Clem seeing the dead rabbit on Ellie's backpack, just dangling down. I couldn't kill rabbits and just put them on my backpack like that. They talk about killing a deer later on, and they're like, could you kill a deer? I tried to rationalize it in my brain. I love deer. I see them at my mom's all the time. I think they're adorable. So I always think I could never kill a deer. If it was life or death, could I kill a deer? Maybe. Could I dress a deer, though? Do the dressing where you rip it apart, the guts? No. Fuck no, I couldn't do that. So, I mean, this episode, more than any other episode, made me think I couldn't survive in this world. And it had nothing to do with the zombies or the infection.
Yeah, if the cold little fingers aren't going to kill our guy Bob Fox, hunger is, because he's not going to be able to kill any of the animals that need to keep him alive. I guess you could just start eating a lot of berries or whatever until you run out of them or can't.
I'm allergic to fruit.
That's right, Bob. You're dead. You are so fucking
dead.
good. You're not even making
deadest.
Yeah, even if you had the antidote to your blood, you're not living past like the age of 6 at this point. There's
Honestly,
just no
I'm
way.
probably my luck. I'm probably like the person the plane crashes into when the night of the outbreak, which take me at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see this horror world.
And Ellie made a great point too, and she's like, "Why do they call it dressing when it should be the undressing?" I'm like, that's actually a very good point.
I agree.
Also, I would love to kind of make the have the Basement Boys and Girls start a push to have Robbie go on Barstool Outdoors and encounter his deepest, darkest fears. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be good for that brand. Like Bob just puking his guts out and crying in the corner. I don't think anyone wins in that video. He's like about to cry right now. It looks like
this is going to sound really bad to any animal lovers or PETA members out there. I draw the line at adorable, and I find deers adorable, right? If it was like a warthog or something, maybe I could shoot it. Maybe. I'm not even a gun guy. Maybe I would want to go like a crossbow or a bow and arrow, like Hawkeye or Katniss. I can't kill something that looks adorable.
When we had pellet guns in like my old neighborhood, everyone kind of got pellet guns around the same time, the bad boys. And I hung out with a couple kids that were a little older, so kind of get advanced to that world a little young. And I, sensitive soul, always have been. And I think the closest I came was to almost shooting a squirrel. Like I had them lined up, and I hate squirrels. Like you live in the suburbs, there's always shit. And I was like looking at them, and I like kind of like moved on purpose. Like my brain made me miss. I was a bunny. Like I used to have little bunnies in my parents' yard. I just kind of go out, look at them. Deer, Quantumania Clem gets visited by like the same group of deer every single day, basically. However, I've seen.
You feed them?
No, I'll throw like bread outside when the bread's like no longer good, or we have like day old bagels. I'll throw them outside to help feed maybe them or the squirrels or whatever. However, wifey Clem hit a deer, totaled our car about 3 or 4 years ago. My father-in-law totaled his car with a deer. There's just been a lot of deer-related fuck-ups, and there's nothing you could do. They don't know what they're doing. But at this point, like, I think I have enough. They've cost me enough heartache and literal dollars that I think I could kill a deer. You
could take a couple of them back.
I'll take care of it, Bob. If there is a zombie apocalypse, I'll be the guy I'll be the Bill to your Frank. I'll kill the deer. I'll fucking gut them. I will not be easy to do it. I'll be queasy the entire time. But you just figure out a way to start that fire up, keep those hands warm, and I'll just do all the grunt work. I can't promise you about the paired wines, though. I don't know any of that. We need Large to stick around to do that, or we're just going to drink some sort of like soda or Arizona.
Large would be so good at that. Yeah.
I said that Bill was Large. He was like a rough and tumble Large, where he's fucking pairing rabbit, right? That was rabbit and the wine, right? So that's our boy.
That rabbit's kind of just the chicken of this new world, maybe. Just like it's a very common thing for everyone to eat and everything.
I had a Lucky Rabbit's hook like growing up. I got it at like some general store, and I did love the Lucky Rabbit's hook. I never really put the two together. It's like when you find out when you're like, oh, we're eating chicken, and you're like, oh wait, that's a chicken. My daughter found that out a few years ago. It was one of the funniest things, and she's like, oh, but these chicken nuggets are real good, and just throws them right back in.
Like right after she watches Chicken Run, she's like, what? Which I loved. I loved Chicken Run growing up. I thought that it was cool that Joel gave Ellie a sip of his drink. Just a cool dad move. Classic. Kind of a trope at this point, but not used in an over-the-top way. She was just like, can I have that? Boom. Here's a sip.
Better to learn with me than learn on your own. And granted, it's not really going to happen in a world like that as much. But I think Large
it's like the fucking apocalypse, too. Like, come on. Give her a sip,
If by the time you're like 7 years old, that's like the new 21 is 7 in that world. You've seen some shit. You've probably killed at that point. If you could kill someone else, you could have a swig of whiskey or whatever it might have been. So yeah, that's fine. I think Large, he did that with his kids. Like he'll give him a beer. I think he like took his kid to a gas station. They got a vape. They each vaped. And he's like, all right, you've done it now. Cause you don't want to just throw them into that new world. And then they go to college and it's like, all right, fucking, I'm in the candy store. You got to know which candies are good, bad, when you're going to get you got to have that tummy ache when you've eaten too much candy, right? Or else you're going to really have a problem. So yeah.
Mama Fox did that with me when I was 18. I graduated high school. And there was a 4th of July party that summer. So it was already 18. I had not really gone to like parties in high school. Never asked. I was not interested, whatever. I wanted to just go in my basement and blog about MMA and shit. So I said to my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I want to go to this 4th of July party. Just graduated. All my friends invited me. They're all going to be there. And I think I want to have a beer. And she was like, oh, okay. She was like, I'm down with that. Like, that's a very responsible way to go about it.
Rob, you're not talking to the Mama Fox voice. You gotta talk.
Yeah, she was like, Rob, I respect that. Very responsible. My sister and my now brother-in-law from across the room heard this, and they were like, "You're not gonna drink with us for the first time?" They were like, "That we love you. We want to drink with you." And I was like, all right, all right. I wasn't really like interested in like drinking, getting drunk. They were like, just your first sip of alcohol has to be with family. And I was like, okay. The only piece of alcohol, or the only bottle of alcohol we had in the house was tequila, Clem. So we did tequila shots, me, my mom, my sister, my now brother-in-law. And yeah, I don't really drink now. And I wonder if it's because of that.
That was a wise move by your mom for doing that, because I'll tell you, I can't even smell tequila. Again, I think I've told the story where there was like the last day of third grade, there was a bottle of tequila just laying around somewhere. I picked it up, swigged it as a joke, trying to be Mr. Funny Guy, and I can't even smell it. And even so, I always think tequila out of those shot liquors is by far the strongest, most fuck you up. So
it wasn't cold. It was warm. Yeah, it was bad. Now the only thing I could drink is High Noon. Shout out High Noon.
Shout out High Noon.
The infected smelling dog that runs up on them is very cool. So while they're in the snow, they get run up on by a bunch of people on horses. And then they're like, this dog will smell you if you got any infected on you. The fact that you could train a dog to do that in this world, I thought was awesome. And it played for such a good scene in that the tension when the dog walks up to Ellie and starts sniffing her was so good. You could cut it with a knife where you're like, is it going to smell infected on her? She kind of is infected, but she's not. So is it? And it doesn't. And it just starts like sniffing her and loving her and licking her. And it's like, dogs are the fucking best.
Dogs are the best. And I remember the dog in the first episode when he's kind of creeped out by it because they can like sense the, I forgot the word for the actual fungus or whatever. So it just fucked me up. And when they're talking about river of death and it sounds like it's a goddamn, you're going out west, you're basically going to die. There's no way, people go out, they never come back kind of shit. So that fucked me up. And our girl Ellie really is leveling up in the outdoors. I'm very proud of her. Yeah. She's getting better at what she does. And when Joel looks at her and she's about to ask about the dam, he goes, don't ask, because I don't know. I don't know how dams work. And I'm so happy that is a very relatable thing that they wrote into the script, because nobody fucking knows how goddamn dams work. So shout out to them for doing that. And that cowboy crew, boy, I would love to be in a fucking cowboy crew. I've come to the realization decades ago I'm not nearly man enough. But man, cowboy, they made that crew look fucking awesome, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like Red Dead Redemption.
Yes,
like
exactly.
When you roll up like that. My brother, by the way, might be the biggest Red Dead Redemption guy in the world. He just texted me. He 100%ed Red Dead Redemption 2.
Wow.
100%. That's like the biggest game out there.
There has been a few things lately that Mike Fox has kind of let me down with, the road trip being one of them in terms of the movie. This is an arrow to his heart. I got Red Dead. I played it. I had a little bit of fun, and I just it never permeated my brain like Grand Theft Auto did. I never played the first one. So the second one came out. It was this massive event a few years ago. And even during the goddamn pandemic, a couple times I looked, I was like, oh yeah, I got Red Dead 2. I'm not really in the mood for it. So
are you a big Western guy when it comes to movies?
No, I am most certainly not.
See, that's where you and my brother differ. My brother's the biggest Western guy.
Does he like Back to the Future 3?
I don't think so. No,
that's the ultimate.
He's also a harsh critic with movies, so it's like he's a harsh critic in that I assume he'll just dislike the movie, but if he likes it, it's fucking good, which is like almost the opposite of me. We're almost the opposite in that I feel like if I dislike a movie, it's bad.
Yeah, that's true. If Robbie hasn't cried in joy of watching your movie, it's just so beautiful. That means it's really bad.
Great brother reunion when Joel and Tommy reunite, but I couldn't get past the fact that Tommy didn't tell Joel about this place. And I know they have the big conversation about it later. We just talked about my brother. You're a guy with a brother as well. If you're in this place, this community, gated community where they say we're very secretive, you can't tell anyone. I don't care what they tell you. You have to tell your brother, who is still out there and alive. And I would tell my brother, I don't know what my excuse would be. You would have to come up with an excuse for the town to be like, oh, he found us. I would just say like he knew I was going out west, coincidence, and fucking deny it to the grave. But how do you not tell your brother?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have radio, so I'm trying to think how he would be able to like float it out there that he's there.
Go back.
Go.
Like leave and go back.
Or leave and go back.
I would go back.
Hey, Mike, if you're listening, pal, you raised a good younger brother right here. I mean, he didn't see Road Trip.
I
got
would go
to
to the ends of the earth to reunite with my brother if it was the apocalypse. That would be like the only person I would want to see, my family.
Yeah. I mean, did your first shot with your family, right? It's a big moment. So you want to keep doing shots in this it felt like a fort from, I'm going to, again, reference Oregon Trail beat. See, remember it had like the big pillars of wood on the outside, and you're just like, oh man, it feels good to get off that trail for a little bit and look around. So and it was also a little bit of Game of Thrones when like they'd go to the castles or whatever. Like
they open the gates.
Yeah, they opened the gates, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" And then when we found Tommy, I was like, "Holy fuck, there's Tommy!" I was like, I didn't think we were gonna see Tommy for maybe till the end of the season, if not like next season. And then I'm just like, "Oh fuck, Tommy's gonna die. We're gonna lose Tommy by the end of this episode." I immediately thought we were so goddamn fucked, man. So that is a fair point about Tommy. But the thing is, like, Tommy's the little brother. I do think that makes a difference. Now, you're the little brother who said you go across the country and get your guy. But I do feel like some people would say it's the big brother's responsibility is to get the little brother. But, man, the little brother is living good. Little brother can, like, take hot showers, having regular sex, it appears. So that's the other thing. Going all the way to fucking, like, Boston, a bunch of infected around. Can't hate Tommy too much, but I definitely hear what you're saying, Bob.
Tommy's got a girl as well, Maria, her name is. They have a conversation with her. He kind of lets everyone know, oh, well, she is family, actually. He's like, can we have a moment with family? She is family. And she has a good conversation with Ellie. They have a good relationship where she gives Ellie the menstrual cup, which I just feel weird even saying those words.
Oh, you said the M word. I would have never said
that. I know. I regretted it the second it came out of my mouth. Gross word. I'm not going to say it again. I'm not saying it. You're not getting me.
I didn't know what it was.
Nice conversation.
I didn't know. I thought it was a contraceptive.
Me neither.
I was like, oh, I'm like,
I had no idea what it was.
No idea.
You were watching with the wife next to you, and she told you?
No, I watched a YouTube video recapping, and I was like, oh my god, heavy spoilers. So I learned that from my guy Paul.
I was gonna say, turned to my girlfriend. I was like, why'd you give her a cup? And she was like, oh, you idiot.
Is that for medicine? Is she gonna give her medicine now, honey?
I was like, oh, they're doing shots. Yeah.
I won't ask you. I'll just tell you. I've had to make the tampon run to the pharmacy, and it is like reading Chinese. I'm like, there's 100 of these things. I don't know which one I'm supposed to do. They're all different
colors.
Yeah, exactly. I saw someone tweet something the other day, and they're like, my husband actually, she's like, I'm so happy we have cameras on our phone because he said they were all sold out. And you look at the thing and literally everything was sold out. She's like, I would have said it was bullshit because A, you have to pick it out, and then B, you have to go and usually pay for it. Now, luckily, we live in a world where everything you can just have its little self-checkout. But back in the day, you're looking that dude right in the eyes and you're like, here's some tampons, sir. It was always nowadays a little awkward.
You got to DoorDash it. You got to do the Uber Eats grocery run. Don't even be involved. Leave it at the door. Take a picture of my door and walk away. I don't even want to see that guy. You know, I want no communication with anyone involved in that purchase.
I always was like, hey, I'm clearly at home with a girl. That's a good thing, in my opinion. I'm very proud of it. So, but the guy's looking at
you like, you're not getting it in right now. I know that. It's not like buying condoms.
Fair point.
So one of my favorite parts of this episode, maybe my favorite part of this episode, was the realization that in this little community, they have the movies. And for me, it was a self-realization where I was like, if I was in this apocalypse and I found a community, that would be my goal. That would be my life's purpose. Bring the movies back to these people. I would go to the ends of the earth to try to find popcorn, to try to find some nachos still in the bag, and then put a slate together of movies. Like almost your own film festival. You're like, this is what's out tonight. And it's fucking Jaws. And the next night, you're like, E.T.'s out tonight. And you just blow people's minds every single night. The kids, especially, who haven't seen all the classics. You show them like 100 classics in a row, and they're like, there are no bad movies. All movies are amazing. You know what I mean? Like, this would be the most fun thing in a town like this.
That's probably how, like, the Wizard of Oz became the Wizard. He probably had some, like, old movies with him, and he just showed the munchies. He's like, guys, you guys have to see this shit. This shit, Citizen Kane. Oh, my God. And he's just going through all the different things, and their minds are just being blown around. He's a wizard, and we're in Oz, the Wizard of Oz. And he's like, now let me go and do my magic and shit. And boom, he just became the wizard just because, yeah, that is actually a pretty fucking, and at that point, like, yeah, I made that movie. I did.
You're like, these are my movies. Back when things were okay, you know, I made all these movies. And they're like, why is the quality different in all of them? And it's like stylistic choice. I made them all in the same year.
I would definitely have like Die Hard. Be like, that would be the first movie I show everyone. Like, I'd probably skip Die Hard 2. I do Die Hard 3. Die Hard 2, I don't know if it's skippable, but I'd show Die Hard 3 before I showed Die Hard 2. I'm like, oh yeah, but by the way, guys, this is like the director's cut that came out after Die Hard. Man, there's just like it's kind of like with Twitter, right? Where someone will watch like Godfather for the first. I know we don't like Godfather on the podcast. I know that some of you don't like Godfather, I should say. But just
Back to the Future, you know, I watched that for the first time as an adult. Loved it.
Watching Glennie watch Sopranos for the first time as he's live tweeting through it, just seeing that.
That's my next show, by the way. Just a little heads up for everybody. That's the next show I'm binging, Sopranos.
Next movie, we're gonna do Boogie Nights at some point, right?
Yes,
after this, all the content settles down. Yeah, I almost watched it last night.
Boogie Nights. Got to get Jose back on the pod for a Kang episode.
Definitely.
All right, at this point, we get a pretty emotional argument between Joel and Ellie over who should go on this trip. Joel is kind of like the Mandalorian. He's like, I've done my journey. I've reunited you with the Jedi. Now I'm going off of my... And she's like, come on. You're the only person I feel safe with. An obvious response for a kid to have. And I was on her side the whole time. I was just like, Joel, come on. This is your fucking kid now. Go with her. Much like Mando, I was like, you're really... I love Luke Skywalker, but come on, Baby Yoda is yours. Like,
imagine Ellie pulls that out. She's like, you took Baby Yoda wherever you wanted, and then you let him go when he was ready to go, but not until he was ready. He got to make the choice. God damn it, Joel. What's your problem, dude? It's just you're the same person. I saw you without your mask. And
then Joel's like, what if I throw in R2-D2? And Ellie turns into the kombucha girl. She's like,
this is the way.
yeah. She's like, all right, I'll go with Tommy.
Fuck you, HBO, for bringing back the memory of Sarah. We're talking about, you know,
she's got to be careful with that too. Yeah, you bring that was like a pin drop moment. Like, you don't bring that name up.
That is, I was gonna say like hand on the oven. That is match in a can of gasoline. I do not put those two near each other, Ellie. Just take it easy. He's a nice guy. He loves you, but you have to be very careful because he was like, do not talk about that. Like, just shut that shit down. And then the test stuff when he asked Tommy to take her for tests, and I'm just like, God damn it. Why are you guys bringing this all back? However, let me say this. Shout out to that. It's called Jackson. Is that the name of the community?
I think so. Yeah.
Having Christmas and movies during a post-apocalyptic world is dunking on that fungus so goddamn bad. It's like, you know, they're winning the war, but we got our battles and we're fucking crushing it. Like, having Christmas is fucking A+ stuff. It's like, that's about as much you can say that we're as close to normalcy as we can get is by having Christmas. You have the electric, you have the movies, and then Christmas is just the cherry on top. So I absolutely loved it.
Some of those kids who don't know what the real world is like are kind of living a normal life, right? Like in that community, if they're 5 years old, if they're 10 years old. Out
of like everyone in that world, I'd say they're probably like the top 1%, 5% in terms of like real world.
That's what I want to see now. I want to see a Last of Us spinoff where we see what does the top 1% of the world look like. Oh. What is the best way people are surviving this apocalypse? Is there a mansion somewhere where there's a bunch of like billionaires just chilling and they got, you know, everything? They got new movies somehow.
They're on Avengers. Like, well, at this point, fuck, Avengers wasn't even out. They're living in a world without Avengers, Bob.
With the MCU, they don't even have the MCU.
Did Iron Man came out after that, right? After 2003?
2008.
Yeah, so shit, they're fucked.
2003 is like you don't even have the second. Yeah, you don't even have the second Spider-Man yet. You got the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and you're like, superheroes are here finally, and then done.
Now I actually feel bad for these people. They had the prequels.
Not all of them. They only made it up to Attack of the Clones. They didn't get to see Revenge of the Sith. They had the two worst ones.
Man, they're having a tough time. So yeah, fucking Bob comes in with his DVDs. He's like, "Here, boys, we got some movies here."
Line of the episode for me when they're talking about contractors, and Jill just goes, "Yeah, everybody loved contractors."
That was such a great line. It was so like with just zero. Yeah, everyone did love contractors. As someone that got his kitchen done somewhat recently, and you're just like, dreaming of all this shit where you can get done. But the thing about contractors is everyone like, I love having a contractor, but then all I ever hear about contractors is your project's going to be more money and they're just going to disappear for like weeks at a time. But everyone's just fine with it. So I guess Joel said it perfectly. And the fact that he wanted to herd sheep, he wanted to raise sheep, which I just loved. He wanted to be a singer. Like, we're just getting all these little nuances of this fucking dude who, by the way, like, I hate to say it about our guy Joel, but once you kind of lay it all out, he low-key like keeps failing. He's like, I failed my daughter, I failed Tess, I failed Henry and Sam, and about to fail Ellie. I guess he already failed Ellie in Kansas City, right? And she had and I'm like, does Joel low-key suck? we've been giving Joel a little too much credit. He has a good shot.
Does. He maybe sucks, but all our favorite heroes do, right? John McClane, Indiana Jones. That's the other thing I was thinking. I would show the whole room Star Wars and then the Indiana Jones trilogy and be like, Harrison Ford was my dad back in the day. You know, like say shit like that. Like just George Lucas was my grandpa. Yeah, he made the movies with his son Harrison Ford in them and just like confuse people's timeline of history and everything.
You're basically Bob Odenkirk from what's the
Better Call Saul?
No, from
I thought you were like you're making a new life like Jimmy McGill.
Well, I guess you kind of are being Jimmy McGill, but it's the show on Netflix. What's the show with Tim? Netflix.
Oh, from I Think You Should Leave.
I Think You Should Leave.
Robinson.
Yeah. Where he's like, I got the barracuda, I got two barracudas, I got triples, and it's like you're just making up all these lies. It's like, Harrison Ford is my dad, George Lucas is my crazy uncle. Here it is.
People at the next table are just like, we don't care. But obviously, Joel goes off with Ellie eventually. He's waiting for her in the stable, makes the right call. Although I think Clemmer blogged it, and he was right about this. All three of them could have gone, right? If Tommy could have gone, why isn't he going?
I was thinking the same goddamn thing. I don't think it's like a, hey, we can only have two because the numbers is a problem. Why don't you just kind of just load up? So
I figured he was going to. When we see Joel in the stable, I was like, oh, they're all going to go as a team. Like, cool, we'll see the brothers team up and get to fucking shoot some clickers. But no, he's staying. So again, like, Tommy seems like an all right guy. Not the best brother in my book.
And this is the Tommy Slander podcast. I didn't see this one coming when we started, but I'll tell you, Bobby, making some very good points. And I'm going to say this from like a kind place. However, I knew Tommy was a father or a father to be because I saw weakness in his eyes. That man had weakness in his eyes. That actor put the weakness in his eyes. And I'll tell you, it is one of the best things where you're always like in the movies, where you're like, please don't hurt me. I have kids. And the person might save your life. That's probably the best part about having kids. Bob probably cut it out of this podcast, but I had a good 10-minute conversation. Both kids are off for the week right now, so I'm watching them by myself, and I'm just getting fucking they're zinging me. They're telling me they have to watch YouTube. And what did they say to me again?
I believe I heard AJ say, he was like, Dad, not to be mean, but this is the best way to entertain us. And you were like, what? And he was like, watching YouTube is the best way to entertain us. And you were like, yeah, that's why I'm letting you do it right now. But I love that he started with not to be mean. But maybe he was saying like, YouTube's a lot better than you entertaining us.
Yeah.
Is that what he was saying?
Hey, you big monkey idiot. Like, this is how you entertain your kids. Just kindly being just roasted by your kids. I can only imagine what Joel went through going across the country with like, and she's a wise act. She's a wise ass. She's a wise acre, whatever you want to call it. Ellie is tougher than both of my kids for sure. But it was adorable, as you said, but it's also just like you just kind of have to
Ellie's got a hard shell. We just saw, which the people didn't see. I cut it out, but Sienna, maybe the sweetest like sister move. You were like, hey, your little brother wants someone to watch this with him. Like, you got to watch this. And she was like, all right, great. Immediately, she was just like down to do it. I was like, wow, what a well-behaved kid.
Well, a little peek behind the parenting curtains here, Bob. This little Podfather's breaker here. When you tell them, hey, you can watch YouTube as long as you do exactly what I say, they'll just do what I recommend. Be like, Sienna, climb to the roof right now. And like, Sienna, make me.
You give her a phone with YouTube and she's like, cool.
Yeah. Go on YouTube, learn how to make Peking duck and then cook it for the family. She's like, I'll figure it out, Dad. Whatever, as long as I can get this stuff into my eyeballs, they will do whatever you want. So that. She's not usually that easygoing. I'll just say that about it. But all things considered, I'm happy.
Very easygoing from Uncle Rob's perspective. The uncle who gets to pop in for 10 minutes a week and be like, oh, wow, these kids are great. I loved, and I'm sure you loved this as well, Joel explaining the rules of football to Ellie. As he's like, we just kind of go in one direction. but violent.
It was so funny. She's like, and then if you don't get it in a couple plays, you have to get the 10 yards. I had that exact conversation with Sienna like a month ago because, you know, they're watching the playoffs or whatever. And the yellow line has done so much for watching football. I remember being a kid being like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I like it. I don't know what's going on. Now I just feel like they have to get to the yellow line in 4 plays. After 3, if they can't get it, they're probably just going to punt the ball away. It goes to the other team. But I just had a big shit-eating grin. Every week they remind you of the world the way it is now or the way it was back then, whether it's talking about airplanes or driving in cars and now talking about football to kids. That was some real dad shit right there. He did.
Yeah.
And Joel has to be a diehard football guy. He's he's a Texan, right?
Where's he from? Yeah.
Well, at least he's Texas when we pick up with him. I don't know where he starts before Texas, then in the story, but he.
I wonder if he's got a team in the game, if it's a fictional team.
Yeah, and when she's like, man, you guys love mascots. He's like, oh yeah, like when it's one of those things. Complaining about airplanes as you could just fly anywhere in the world in like less than a day, or complaining about cars, or you could go anywhere locally very quickly, and then like the amount that we worship. Fucking like the mascot of your team or the star player, not even the star player. We have an entire fucking website that we're currently on that is just about quote unquote sports, right? It's fucking bananas when you just take a step back and look how we worship these motherfuckers. Bob Fox was like ready to get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather Sr. for an Irish guy that he met once.
Yeah, fact. That's an absolute fact. And the more Joel opens up, the more I like his character. And I wonder if in writing it's like an easy thing to do or a hard thing to do in writing a hard ass who starts to open up, because some of those are my favorite characters. I think of Brett Goldstein. Why can't I think of his name? Roy Kent. I think of Roy Kent all the time as the hard ass who the more you see his relationship with his niece and everything, the more you're like, I fucking love this guy. Joel's the same way, where when he's opening up about wanting to be a singer or a sheep farmer and he's talking about contractors and football with Ellie, I'm like, this guy is the fucking best. Like, there's a little heart that's covered by a cold shell, and we got to get to that. We're chiseling away at it right now. Unfortunately, someone chisels away at it with a baseball bat in just a bit. The end of the episode, they start kind of going into this building. They see a group come up on them, Raiders, maybe, whatever. I like just calling people Raiders.
I like Raiders,
yeah. You know, Raiders come up on him. And he gets into a fight with one of them in particular, who stabs him with a baseball bat unknowingly. The classic, you got stabbed in the fight, your adrenaline was going, you didn't even realize it till you looked down. And Ellie puts him back on the horse. They get on the horse together. At the end of the episode, he just fucking does the fall off the horse. Joel's dead. Rest in peace. That's the end of Pedro Pascal on the show. No, I'm kidding.
The end of the show. Roll credits. Thank God this fucking show's over.
But yeah, crazy ending to the episode. And they did a move that I appreciated in the preview for next week's episode. We did not see Pedro Pascal. So, you know, if you don't know this guy's the main character of the show, maybe you think he's gone.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. Now, was there something on the baseball bat that he stabbed him with, or did he hit him with like a knife in another hand or something like that?
I thought it was a broken bat. I thought it was like a bat broke and the shard of it stabbed him. I could be wrong about that. I only watched the episode once.
Yeah, me too. I just when you said that, I thought maybe I missed something. Joel, when he said, "What's Tommy afraid of?" He said, "What was Tommy so afraid of?" That's like saying we haven't hit traffic yet. We haven't hit traffic.
The edibles haven't kicked in yet.
Yeah, and it's like we just started this trip. We're halfway through. Trust me. And then you're fucking either stuck in traffic or you're on Neptune from the fucking edibles you just ate responsibly. So yeah, that one pissed me off. And these idiots going towards the clanging like a bunch of fucking
yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh, what's that clang? Let's just go upstairs in the tight hallway where the fucking fireflies escaped from for some reason. And boom, there's fucking. I mean, it ended up just being monkeys.
Yeah.
I have a theory. I feel like whoever is playing this version of Last of Us in this video game, they turn it on easy mode because we've seen about 6 clickers other than the horde that came out and got Kathleen and all of them. I feel like we're on easy mode right now. And listen, as someone that enjoys the stories other than the heart getting ripped out, and doesn't like and has to turn the remote on low and holds his ears like a little baby. I kind of like, give me a couple zombies here, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just clickers, whatever the fuck. Just give me
yeah, don't use the Z word.
Yeah, I know a lot of people get mad about the Z word. I appreciate the Raiders as an enemy, and then also give me some fun guide motherfuckers.
Some fun guys, as we say.
Some fun guys, yeah, exactly.
That was The Last of Us episode 6, though. I saw some people calling it the weakest of the series so far. I would agree that it was like weaker than some episodes where we get, you know, Sam and Henry. It was weaker than last week. But if this is the weakest that this series has to offer, it's still better than everything else on TV right now. It is movie quality week to week. I enjoyed this episode start to finish. There was nothing about it other than Tommy not going with his brother. I was like, you could have gone. But other than that, I was like, fucking great episode of television. This and Poker Face are my two shows right now. Poker Face on Peacock, Ryan Johnson's show. It's got Natasha Lyonne in it. I would recommend both of them. But Last of Us, if you're looking to have a show to talk about with people in the office, people in wherever you're going, this is probably the one.
Yeah, I think so. Even though they had did you see that glaring editing mishap they had?
Yeah, I saw
the cameraman.
Almost ruined the show. I saw, as you said, you might never be able to watch it again. But yeah, they had a Game of Thrones like moment where in a pan out drone shot, if you look real close in the corner of the screen, you can see some members of the film crew.
I can't believe people actually have like the wherewithal during those like beautiful scenery shots. They're like, oh wait, there's two cameramen hiding under a pine tree.
For the first time. Is it? I wonder if it's the heavy spoilers type people, or do they go through the episode and really scrub every inch of the screen for everything, watch it in half speed or something? Or is it someone that just happens to be looking at that part of the screen in that moment was like, wait, what was that? Go back. I wonder.
Do you think you would have spotted the Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have. I didn't spot it.
I don't know if I ever saw it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
that might be a fun game. I think shows should put a Starbucks cup in every scene, and it's like, oh, there it is. It's the Where's Waldo. It's the hidden Mickey, as
I like
it. Disney has. All right, that was My Mom's Basement for The Last of Us week 6. As we mentioned, next week we're going to have Mando. So if you go on the YouTube channel, if you're listening on the podcast feed, Monday or Tuesday, we'll try to have a Last of Us recap up. Another, 30, 40-minute recap just like this. And then right after Mando, we'll try to have another one, maybe Thursday or Friday. On Friday, the podcast will probably drop with both of them out. Maybe on Thursday if we can get it out quicker. Thank you to everyone who listened. We need a hashtag for this week. What would be a good hashtag?
I'm trying to think of like Tommy stinks, bad brother Tommy boy.
Bad bro.
Hashtag bad bro.
It's short, so people could still have a longer tweet. Hashtag bad bro.
Okay, Bob, honest. Would you be all right if Tommy dies in this season?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, man.
Don't go back for your brother. That's what happens.
Yep. Hey, but you, without giving away, you were pretty vicious about a certain character, if you wanted to see their death in Ant-Man. Yep. I appreciate the honesty here. So that...
I liked Tommy, but I didn't love Tommy. You know what I mean? And it goes for sister
didn't love
too.
His brother either.
Brother, sister, it's sibling. I got a tattoo for my sister here. I got a tattoo for my brother here. I'm just I'm a good sibling, I think. I try to be a good sibling. I want to be a good sibling. So Tommy wanting to be a good husband over that and kind of discarding his brother and his family for that. I don't know how I felt about that, Tommy.
Family Guy Fox. That's why we love you, Bob. You're a good dude.
All right. That was My Mom's Basement. Make sure you like it if you haven't. Subscribe on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel. And we'll see you next week.